I call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, to discuss personnel or to hear complaints against personnel. 551.076 to discuss regarding security devices or security audits, and the time is 5:30. The board will now convene into open session, and the time is 6:33. On behalf of the trustees, I would like to welcome you to this evening's meeting of the Northeast Independent School Board. This is a business meeting of the board held in public. We appreciate your attendance and request your respectful attention. We welcome your comments during the Matters from the Floor section of the agenda. If you signed up to address a specific action agenda item, you will be called at that time. We wish to emphasize that this is a business meeting of the board, and while those in attendance may disagree about issues, it is our expectation that everyone will conduct themselves in a respectful and professional manner. Disruptions to this meeting by anyone will not be tolerated. In the event any person or group disrupts the meeting, a warning will be given to stop any disruptive behavior. Anyone persisting in disruptive behavior will be removed from the meeting. The board may also call a recess in the event of persistent disruption so that individuals who engage in disruptions can be removed. It is our intent to conduct the meeting in an orderly fashion. Finally, I would like to remind you that it is the mission of Northeast to challenge and encourage each student to achieve and demonstrate academic excellence, technical skills, and responsible citizenship. Item 5, Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. A, Wood Middle School, Mr. Hensey.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. It is my pleasure to introduce Natalie Ottenreith and Michael Biles. Michael is going to do the invocation for us tonight. Michael is an 8th grader at Wood Middle School. He is a multi-sport athlete playing football, basketball, and will run track in the spring. He is also part of our student-to-student program. He is on our robotics team and part of our FFA program. He is in all honors classes and is an all-A student. Michael is here with his parents, Myron and Lachey Biles.
Bow your heads and close your eyes. Almighty God, you are an awesome God, and we take this moment to acknowledge you before the school board meeting starts. We lift our hearts to you in prayer and thanksgiving for all you have done for NISD. You have been kind to us. We look to you for guidance as we prepare, plan, and fulfill your purpose for the future of our schools. Grant each of us the wisdom to make intelligent choices on critical issues. Please help us to find solutions to things where we may disagree. Help us not depend on politics, but on your truths that will make life easier and better for everyone. Please help us to be an educational institution that others can model after. Please help us to bring glory, honor, and praise to your name. Bless every teacher, administrator, staff worker, parent, child, and friend of NISD. Protect us from a world of violence. Please give us the prosperous future as we enter this world, serving future generations. Take control of this meeting. Lead us and guide us. We pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Natalie is going to do the pledges for us today. Natalie is also an 8th grader at Wood. She is not just a multi-sport athlete, but an all-sport athlete. She's going to play volleyball, basketball, track, run cross country, play soccer, golf, and is also a member of our dance team in her free time. She is just as talented academically. She is a member of our PALS program, in AVID, and all honors classes. She's also an all-A student for the first 9 weeks. And Natalie is here with her parents, Brian and Michelle Ottenreith.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, and indivisible.
Natalie and Mikhail, if you'll come forward, please. We have some certificates, and we would like to take your picture with Mrs. Landry. And Mr. Hensey, come forward to picture, please. That was a beautiful invocation. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. You're welcome to leave. You're welcome to stay, but you're welcome to leave. Yeah. Item 6, recognitions. A, President's remarks on acknowledgement of special calendar events. So in November, on the 17th, it's Substitute Educators Day. So thank you to all our substitutes. And then it's also Thanksgiving. And I hope everybody can take some time to enjoy time with family and friends and take a little bit of a break. Item B, SAT perfect score, Johnson High School student. Who is talking?
It's going to be me, President
Okay.
Grona. Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. President Grona, Board of Trustees, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. I'm honored to recognize 2 of our students and their respective accomplishments for these next 2 agenda items. So starting off with the SAT perfect score, let me give a little bit of context first. 0.07% of students who take the SAT earn a perfect score of 1,600. 1.7 million students took this SAT at least once, so just under 1,200 students received a perfect score. Arthur, would you come up, please? So let me read a little bit more. There's just a little bit more. So Johnson High School senior Arthur Miller is one of the few to earn a perfect score. Arthur is here with his parents, Derek and Yulia Miller. You all stand up, please. His principal, Mr. Gary Comlander, is also here to celebrate. So in addition to making a perfect score on the SAT, here are a few of Arthur's other accomplishments. He's an AP scholar with distinction, so he scored 2 4s and 3 5s out of his 5 AP exams that he's taken so far, and 5 is the highest that you can get. He's played football 9th grade, 10th grade, and is in wrestling currently and also in 11th grade. And he attended a summer camp for 5 years to become a counselor in training, and which included 150 volunteer hours. And so Arthur went into the SAT test with a lot of confidence and a belief in himself. And so congratulations, Arthur.
C, ACT perfect score, Reagan High School student.
Thank you, President Grona. So for the ACT, 0.25% of all students who take the ACT earn a perfect score of 36. Just over 3,300 students out of 1,340,000 earned a 36 on the ACT. Reagan High School senior, Avanesh Pal, come up. Was one of the few to earn a perfect score. Avanesh is here with his parents, Ipsita and Sumit Kumar Pal. You all stand up. And his younger sister, Aditri, Lopez Middle School 6th grader. Stand up. There you are. His principal, Dr. Charles Reiniger, is also present. Yay. Avanish is currently taking 6 AP courses and is a valued member of the Reagan JROTC, where he serves as Battalion Logistics Officer, Commander of the STEM Team, Executive Officer of the Stryker Air Rifle Marksmanship Team, and is Bravo Team Leader of the Viper Raider Team. Avanish states that his involvement with JROTC Battalion helped him balance academics with all the other activities that he's involved in. In the future, he plans to become an aerospace engineer. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Item D, 2023 Music Teachers of Excellence, Roan Forest Elementary School music teacher.
Ms. Julie Shore, Executive Director for Fine Arts, will address this.
Good evening. The Country Music Association Foundation recognizes outstanding teachers who go above and beyond their role and responsibilities in the classroom and who are vital to the success of our students and our communities. 30 teachers from across the country were announced as the 2023 Music Teacher of Excellence. The program was created to champion educators who are having the greatest impact on their students, using the power of music as an avenue for change. The CMA Foundation held its 7th Music Teacher of Excellence ceremony on Tuesday, September the 19th in Nashville, Tennessee. Among the 30 recipients was our very own Mr. Matthew Trevino, who is a music teacher for us at Roan Forest Elementary. He has been teaching elementary music for 14 years and is in his 9th year at Roan Forest. He is also a 5-time quarterfinalist and a 2-time semifinalist for the Grammy Music Educator Award. Mr. Trevino provides countless musical experiences for the students of Roan Forest Elementary. Outside of his music classes, he leads an after-school choir, an award-winning sonito percussion ensemble, and many other musical groups. We are so thankful for all of the wonderful performance opportunities that Mr. Trevino provides for the students of Roan Forest Elementary. Please help me in congratulating Mr. Matthew Trevino.
I'm sorry, but you can't leave. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Item 7, matters from the floor. The trustees welcome comments from members of the public during this time of the meeting. Generally, board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting, although members may request further information or a future agenda item on a matter raised during public comment. As explained fully in the board's written procedures for this time, the matters from the floor portion is a limited public forum. Accordingly, speakers may present on a topic related to district business for up to 3 minutes. but are not permitted to make 1, personal complaints about an individual staff or board member that should be raised using the district's grievance policies, 2, a personnel action, 3, a student disciplinary matter, 4, a complaint about a particular student, 5, or pending litigation. Any person who persists in speaking on these topics after being directed not to do so will lose the remainder of their time to speak and may lose their privilege of addressing the board at future meetings. If you signed up to speak on a specific agenda item, you will be called up when the board reaches that item. Please remember that this is a business meeting of the board. Any person or group engaging in outbursts of any kind causing a disruption to the meeting will be warned, and if they persist, will be removed from the meeting. This is to ensure that all speakers have an opportunity to make comments without interruption and that the board members are able to pay full attention to speakers without any distractions. We also welcome written comments at any time, either through email at board@neisd.net or by mail care of the Superintendent's Office at 8961 Tesoro Drive, 6th floor, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. Ms. Huey.
Number 1.
Good evening. My name is Paige Gonzalez. I'm a parent of a child at Larkspur Elementary School, an advocate of public education in the School of Larkspur, and I have some concerns. Are you aware that a man was removed from campus on November 8th during early morning drop-off by the NEISD police and parents received no communication? Are you aware that on November 10th, a man breached campus security, entered the campus while children were present, was restrained by a staff member, and the SAPD and NEISD police were called? Are you aware that the communication of this event said we were in a secure status as a precaution due to possible gunshots near the school? Were you aware that student and staff were actually placed in lockdown? Further communication said a person came to the school to report hearing gunshots and safety precautions were implemented. This was not a report by a good Samaritan. It was the babbling of the man who dangerously entered our campus. Are you aware that the parents were lied to? The students saw the intruder and can communicate to their parents what happened more clearly than our campus leadership did. Are you aware that at 4 p.m., while students, including my own, were still on campus, this same man returned, breached security, and lockdown was implemented again, and no communication was sent to the parents? Are you aware more factual communication was only received after parents demanded it from the head of communications of NEISD? Are you aware of the deception of campus leadership? Are you aware that all of our campus staff doesn't have access to all the buildings, and that some of our staff can't access any buildings? Are we trusting them with children and not keys to a building? Are you aware that if a child goes to the school nurse or office, they're then locked out of their building? Are you aware what could have happened if that intruder had a weapon? Are you willing to continue to leave the staff, students, and volunteers as sitting ducks as they are unable to get back in their buildings? I'm aware that we don't have the security officers from NEISD on our campus, and they weren't assigned to our high needs area. Yet the spin to minimize and deceive us about the severity of the situation that occurred on Friday is sickening. We are aware of what happened and what could have happened. We are united in one voice. And while the district and the campus leadership may not value Larkspur Elementary, the parents and the staff do. We demand transparency, honesty, and equity. And you will be hearing further from all of us.
Number 2.
Good evening. My name is Linda Chapman. I'm here to once again ask that you add to the NEISD website, anywhere that a requirement for immunizations are mentioned, that you add in the words "or Texas exemption," so that parents will know about exemption availability without having to search through the attachments. There is apparently room to list some places where immunizations are available, so certainly should be room to add in the words "or Texas exemption." The reason I keep talking about vaccines is because I hope that parents will wake up and start doing their own research and ultimately stop poisoning their children with vaccines. I urge parents to go to the website highwire.com and start learning the truth about vaccines. I want to note to anybody out there who is planning on getting their next COVID booster, I urge you to download the Telegram app and then go to the COVID BC, that's Bravo Charlie, Vax Sudden Death channel, and start skimming through the thousands upon thousands of sudden deaths among COVID-vaccinated individuals. It really is shocking. People who still stand by COVID vaccines should know that, according to the CEO of the One America Insurance Company, the all-cause mortality rate in the United States went up by 40% in the people of working age, that's 18 to 64 years old, in the third and fourth quarters of 2021. Anybody have any idea that what happened in the third and fourth quarters of 2021? It was mass vaccination in the United States. Also, point you to the CDC, which just released information that the U.S. infant mortality rates in 2022 have risen for the first time in 20 years. These things should alert you to something is wrong that's going on in 2021 and 2022, and I submit to you that it is the COVID vaccines. And lastly, I would just like to give this book to the board so that you can start to see some of this stuff. This is a book by Edward Dowd. The name is Cause Unknown, The Epidemic of Sudden Deaths in 2021 and 2022. I would like to give it to Ms. Landry and ask that she share it among the board members.
You can hand it to Ms. Turner, please.
Thank you.
Number 3.
Good evening, board members. Before Friday, I would have said that our top priority is educating our students.
Will you just please state your name for the record?
I'm sorry. My name is Christy Rucker.
Thank you.
I apologize.
No, thank you.
Is educating our students. But I have reevaluated, and I realize our top priority is safety, because only then can our students learn. When the lockdown was lifted at Larkspur, the first time, people believed we were safe. People thought SAPD and Northeast Police Department were telling the truth that our students were no longer in danger. Parents texted and asked if students were okay, and pictures were sent of their smiling faces to reassure parents that their babies were fine. We were working under the assumption that this was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Then after school, he was seen climbing over the fence once again. To increase safety, all teachers and instructional assistants need keys. Recently, a teacher, a substitute, and an entire class were waiting to be let into a building. What if the intruder had come in then? We all wonder what would have happened if he had been armed. We have been told that the requests for keys for instructional assistants and other teachers were denied because there isn't enough funding. You need to find the funding, and you need to find it soon.
Number 4.
You can pay your electric bill? My name is Michael Osborne. Thank you, Board, for your servants and striving to inculcate transparency. Daylight is a natural disinfectant for the disaffected. And thank you, Colonel Hilliard, for your 20 years of service to our country in the Air Force and your contributions to Team America on Veterans Day. God bless you. Previously, for reference, on October 23rd's meeting, 4 candidates made the cut for a second interview. 3 were voted on, but none prevailed. Then, rather than voting on the 4th selection out of a black hole and not in accordance with the agenda, a member proposed an unnamed 5th person, stating there was some unnamed misinformation that was supposedly unfounded. So on their recommendation, absent a public interview and not according to Hoyle, or rather Roberts, they felt this person deserved a vote. Forget about the board's 4th candidate with a proven record of commitment to education, children, and teachers of 26 years. That is politics. Secondly, board members asked how a candidate would lobby in Austin, walking the halls of the Capitol, then rejecting a candidate, falsely accusing them of being a lobbyist. Talk about spreading their own misinformation. They speak of Soros-funded groups, mislabeling patriotic groups as hateful. That is the essence of hypocritical Marxist gaslighting. Since on the reveal, a candidate they supported has an evident appearance of conflict with a paid lobbyist. Thirdly, a member made an accusation of a physical confrontation when reportedly their own spouse physically threatened a previous board member. A matter of record, simple assault. Fourthly, a member said a candidate was unqualified because they didn't have a child in the district. Go serve somewhere else, therefore admitting their very own disqualification as a board member. Fifthly, my Native American brothers have names for this type behavior, one of which is a lingual illusion. Thank you for your attention, Team America.
Number 5.
Hello, my name is Crystal Keene, and I stand before you today driven by a deep commitment to the values that bind us together: respect, accountability, and the shared desire for a positive educational environment for our children. Parents are allies to mobilize, not obstacles to overcome. During the challenging times of COVID, I witnessed a concerning trend at board meetings where the voices of parents advocating for their children were often dismissed and disrespected. It became apparent that some elected officials believed they knew better than the parents. There's clearly a lack of leadership and accountability. My involvement with the shack and the subsequent media intrusion into my personal life raises very serious and troubling concerns. It is disheartening to suspect that my address was leaked by individuals within this board, utilizing personal media contacts, attempting to intimidate and bully me into silence. This intimidation tactic does not just impact me, it impacts the teachers who are afraid to speak up out of fear for retaliation. The organization Mr. Byer mentioned, insinuating something bad, Parents United for Freedom, is amazing. It's become a voice for those who feel silenced and without a voice. We have fostered a growing community of support. Parents United for Freedom emerged from the need to defend parents and teachers, to address the toxic divide within our district, and return the focus to academics. We are a nonpartisan grassroots effort advocating for a return to non-political education and demanding accountability. Our coalition is built on that belief that as parents, we can find common ground. We seek to reclaim our schools, refocusing on the well-being of our children and the academic excellence they deserve. Through PUF, we aim for the restoration of a healthy educational environment and invite all stakeholders to join us in this vital journey. Let us stand united in the pursuit of a brighter future for our children. After the latest media story, I am humbled and excited to say even more have stepped up. We have new donors and volunteers and many new supporters. People see through the nonsense and want to stand united in the pursuit of a brighter future for our children. If you want to learn more, you can go to parentsunitedforfreedom.com.
Number 6.
Good evening, board members. My name is Jacqueline Klein. I have been before you several times over the course of the last 4 months and have had some baseless accusations hurled at me, and well-founded claims that I have been dismissed, primarily regarding issues such as safety. I was told that I was crazy for thinking that there were safety issues on our campus, and then a week ago, Monday, there was a stabbing at Lee. While this stabbing was being reported on the news as a cutting, the district was tweeting and posting to social media about graduation dates instead of informing parents about what was happening on our campuses. I was dismissed for being concerned about the attacks that we see on parental rights. And then news broke about a SHAC member, a kink-affirming, sex worker-aligned mental health professional who advises this district on sexual education curriculum. I was accused of bringing attention, namely negative attention, to the district in this process, and that tweet was viewed more than 1.1 million times, bringing shame onto this district that had absolutely nothing to do with me. To my initial point about safety, we have dangerous and disorderly students who are regularly allowed back on our campuses and pose threats to both faculty and their fellow classmates. We hear about people coming into our campuses from outside. We have threats everywhere. We are charged with the safety and the well-being of more than 60,000 children. Safety is a nonpartisan issue. We have known safety issues on our campuses, and this should be something that this entire board should be able to agree is an issue that we should address proactively and together. We need to listen to our stakeholders that this is their primary concern. Of the 3 candidates that were here, there was not another other than that were being considered. There was not one who could speak to the budgetary issues that this district faces. These are not cheap solutions to these problems, and you need someone who is informed and invested in this community, who can talk about how to go into the budget and find the money to fix these problems before we have a problem that we don't want to have to answer to. Give single-member District 2 a voice on this board. Let us move forward. Let us address safety concerns, and let us take care of these kids.
And that's all.
Thank you. Item 8, matters from executive session. A, personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments pursuant to Government Code Section 551.074. 1, possible action regarding routine personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments. No action. Item 2, possible action to submit complaint to SBAC for job abandonment by Chapter 21 contract employees. Do I have a motion to approve as discussed in executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Ms. Landry? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 9, presentations. A, intruder detection audit by Texas School Safety Center. Dr. Micah.
Thank you, Madam President. As we discussed in executive session, there were 9 door audits since our last board meeting. There was one finding, but that finding was due to a paperwork error, not an actual safety concern. So we have addressed that quickly.
Okay, thank you. Item 10, superintendent comments. Dr. Michael.
All right, so we recognize some kiddos tonight. I want to give a shout out to Estrella Hernandez, a senior at the STEM Academy at Lee High School, who earned a highly coveted spot in the U.S. Navy's nuclear propulsion program. She took the ASVAB, so the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, for fun and scored a 92. That's when the Navy started calling. So she took the Navy's advancement placement test, and she scored so high that they offered her a chance to join them as a nuclear engineer. Yeah, pretty outstanding young lady right there. This is not a current student, but a former student. I hope you all saw the news that we can celebrate a former student, Josh Young, who was a Texas Ranger and won the World Series with them. If you don't know, his mother still works for us. So, from JROTC over the last week, this was past week, all our programs, so at all 7 high schools, underwent a cadet command evaluation known as the Joint Program for Accreditation. And so this is a triennial review of instructor qualifications and performance, adherence to curriculum, cadet performance, and compliance with regulatory standards. So I'm happy to say that all of them passed, and they continue to wear the gold star on the cadet uniform and gives our instructors the ability to nominate cadets to the service academies. So I want to thank all of our instructors and our cadets because it was a very difficult task, and Colonel Henson, well, not Colonel Henson, sorry, Colonel LaChance, sorry, Colonel. That's okay. Apologize for that. Colonel LaChance explained to me that the last time we went through this, or a few years back, actually one of our campuses didn't make it. So he said this is very difficult to achieve. So congratulations to all of them. And then I'm going to end with, you may know that last week we had our college and career fair at Freeman Coliseum. And it was hosted by Roosevelt High School Guidance and our CCMR department. So just some numbers from it. 125 colleges and universities were present. 27 of our programs were there. 49 business and industry representatives were there. Now, I'm going to qualify. According to this digital counter we had, there were like over 10,000 visitors, but there were some people going in and out. So we estimate around 600 to 6,500 people were actually in attendance, which is a giant increase over from last year. So, and 11,000 was given by our business partners for scholarships, teacher appreciation, which will be awarded by the Business and Industry Council. So, good things going on over there. And in fact, I will send you an email later that, of an email that Dr. Munoz received from one of those folks that were in attendance really talking about it. So thank you to Mr. Jared. I know you guys oversaw it, Dr. Munoz, Justin Missildine, all those folks at Roosevelt. That was a lot of work, but it was a great event. So that's all.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. Item 11, board business. A, possible action regarding election of Bear Appraisal District Board of Directors for the 2024 term. So there are 6 candidates. We have one recommended, John Fisher. We have 707 votes, and it takes more than that, I think, to get on there. Mr. Villarreal, were you able to visit with any of the other districts to see if they would share some of their ballot votes for us?
No, ma'am, I have not. I think to get on the board, it takes up around 850.
Okay.
So I had mentioned it to Northside to see what they can do, and then also at SISD. But I mean, other than those other ones, because they're the ones with the majority of votes. The other ones are really low, and because it's based on accounts that we have.
So what we can do is we can submit our 707 votes for Mr. Fisher, and then hopefully some of the others will give him what we need to get us over the finish line, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions or comments about this? Okay, so do I have a motion to cast our votes for John Fisher for the Bear Appraisal District Board?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Huey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 12, new business for possible board action. A, instruction and campus administration. 1, possible action regarding approval of T-test appraisers. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, President Grono, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff and guests. Shiloh Whitten, Executive Director for Human Resources, will address this agenda item.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Jimenez.
The Texas Education Code, Section 150.1005, requires board approval of qualified appraisers under the Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System who may be needed to appraise a teacher in place of a teacher supervisor. The list of names presented tonight are individuals who have met all of the training and certification requirements to be assigned to appraise a teacher when a second appraisal is requested or due to a vacancy or leave of absence. Based on these potential scenarios, we recommend approval of the central office personnel submitted this evening to you for approval.
Does anyone have any questions about this?
Madam President, I have one question. One of them is from the HR department, but do they have a teaching certificate and a teaching background?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all the other ones look like they had teaching backgrounds, but that one does as well. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Makes sense that you have the experience to do the evaluation. That's it, Madam President. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the attached list of administrators to be appraisers?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, was that Ms. Villarreal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Witten.
Thank you.
Item 2, possible action regarding 2023-2024 District Instructional Improvement Plan and HB3 website. Mr. Jarrett.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Mike, members of the board, executive staff, and guests. I would like to ask Dr. Munoz to come forward for this agenda item.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. Tonight, we bring to you our 23-24 District Instructional Improvement Plan for your review and potential adoption this evening. So in alignment with our district scorecard, we want to ensure that we have at the forefront of our thinking and our planning and goal setting students, staff, stakeholders, and stewardship. We ensure that there's a multitude of ways to be able to nurture their learning, and then also valuing employees, investing in their growth, making sure that our community is involved in our goal setting, and then ensuring that we are managing funds appropriately so that we're fiscally responsible and extending all those opportunities for all of our students. In addition to that, when we look at our mission, we ensure that our board goals are also addressed throughout the entire document. We want to ensure that there is support systems for all of our students and staff, and making sure that all of our stakeholders have knowledge and information regarding our plan. As far as our accountability goes, Dr. Micah has been presenting accountability updates as they have been coming through, and unfortunately they are still pending for the 23-24 school year. In essence, we are still consistently staying with the course and making sure that we do develop those SMART goals that are aligned to all of our scorecard and our mission as well. And then we do have our content, which is also developed in partnership with campuses to ensure that there is an alignment between the district goals and the campus goals as well. So our DIP components integrate the following: the scorecard along with our goals and objectives. We do develop a comprehensive needs assessment, and we ensure that that alignment is visible between the district and the campus goals. We presented this to DEIC for adoption, and here we bring it to you for final approval. So our departments consist of elementary and secondary C&I, learning support services, special education and technology, and all of their sub-departments are listed there. Human resources, pupil personnel, fine arts, and the division of business, all of which also set those goals around the comprehensive needs, also our scorecard and our mission. So the location for the DIP is actually a link that was provided there. I'm not sure what happened to the link. Is there a link on there? It's through our district website. There was a link there. So on our district webpage, if you go to the Department of Learning Support Services, you'll be able to find a link that looks just like that, and it's that yellow square there for district and campus instructional improvement plans. And on that particular link, you'll be able to click on the 23-24 district improvement plan. And are there any questions?
I've got a few. I don't have much, Barry. Do you have some as well? I've got some. Or Mrs. Huey? Go ahead. Okay, I'm ready. Thank you. Appreciate that. Looking at the DIP on page 10 and 11, which is the 6th through 12th grade English language arts, K through 5 had the different goals, meets, masters, the checkpoint. On page 10 and 11, there's no target goals, no September checkpoint, no responsible party, and no funds assigned against it. So is there a reason it's blank completely?
So we do have the secondary ED here, who can possibly take some questions regarding that section.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard, for asking the question. I think what you're seeing is a glitch in our system because we updated that piece and it's not updating for you to see right now. So I know Dr. Munoz is working on that glitch to get it addressed and fixed. So it should be updated hopefully in the next 24 hours or so.
Okay, because I pulled it up today, but so what are the goals somewhat similar to what we saw for the K through 5 ELIR?
They are in terms of acceleration, extension, and intervention. So you'll see those themes pretty regularly throughout all the core content. That's how we address when it's time to remediate or when it's time to accelerate instruction. So you'll see some of those. What you'll see that's a little bit different is reading acceleration course and academic literacy course, which are intended to support our most at-risk students to accelerate their instruction.
Okay. And then September, did the checkpoint actually get done? Y'all
Yes,
actually
sir.
did do
It
that?
sure did.
Okay. Great.
Mr. Hilliard, if
yeah.
I can also jump in there.
Sure.
This is one of the reasons why we started looking at the plan for learning. The current document, because it's pretty awkward, because you're navigating between two systems and is really operating from almost like a Word type document versus a web-based program. And so what you're going to see is the SIP is going to show where we're starting to transition to a program that is web-based, that is updated and live as soon as the change is made, so that way it's constantly going and everything.
I saw that with the Camelot example and the ones coming
Exactly.
forward, but is the DIIP going to go to that eventually?
Yes, sir.
I know there's still transition going on.
Yes, sir. So this is the second year, so we did it by cohorts, and then next year we'll move towards all schools and then the DIP, and then we'll have one program that we're using, so that way it's constant and it's agile enough so that any changes are made, it's live and welcoming for the public.
Okay, great. I do have some more. On page 12, it's the K through 5 math. And looking at the targets, we're seeing, the meets is at 51%, if I'm reading this correctly, and the goal is approaching 81. So we've got a significant amount of, obviously 51% is pretty low, meeting the standard. Our goal, obviously, according to Chapter 4, superior in the 4 main areas. So obviously we got a lot of work to go by. I guess my 2 questions would be, or 3 of them, is who's struggling the most in particular? Is there any groups that are struggling more than others of the general population? I realize that some people with special needs and some of those may have that, but from the folks in the general education population, is there anybody that's struggling more than others that y'all have been able to identify?
I would say in our House Bill 3 goals, we do have those percentages in student groups detailed and outlined more specifically for you. So I could provide that for you.
I did look at that, and some of that does tie to the House Bill 3 questions, because really the bigger question is what's working, what's not, what are we eliminating from classroom, how are we taking that teacher input so that they can maximize their teaching, because I know they were working extremely hard and doing a great job, but so that we can get every kid to maximize their potential, because some of these numbers to me are concerning in general, and I know we're going to talk more about the House Bill 3 side. So, okay, I'll wait for that part of that particular question. Page 13, same thing, and this may be the answer. There's no data for 6 through 12 math. Is that a glitch again? Not a problem?
Yes.
Okay, because it's absolutely blank.
You should see 3 places where that glitch is happening. Those are 2 of them. The third is performance and accountability.
Okay, because
we were checking on that this evening.
Okay, I think so. I think emergent bilingual was on 17. Yeah, that was looks like it was cut off. I don't know if there's a problem there, but I know y'all are working. All of those are about 50%, a little bit less 50% is the goal for meeting the standards. That's the goal for the emergent bilingual, which is a step up from previous year. Obviously, we don't have the TAPR from 24, okay. I'm moving through as fast as I reasonably can, but I know there's a couple others. Page 23 was maybe the same one. It was the performance, the data analysis and assessments. There was no September checkpoint done for the grades 3 through 12 from performance and accountability.
Yes, sir, that's the other place of the glitch.
Okay, and then I guess page 26, 33, and 35, special ed, dyslexia support, and professional learning all had no September, October checkpoints.
Yeah, those, again, were all done, and unfortunately, for some reason, the system is very antiquated, which is why we have been going into the Plan for Learning system where it's done right off the bat, and unfortunately, because of the fact that it's a OneDrive system, it does lag as far as when those checkpoints are done, when everything is annotated on the document. So even today, we were going in through some of the special education data, and they were able to go in and add those today, and unfortunately, they're still not showing up.
Because getting it down, but more importantly, is what y'all are learning from it, and then effectively implementing the appropriate changes in a timely manner so we can continue to accelerate the learning of everybody and help the teachers in the classroom is my real goal, not necessarily that it's done. And I realize there's some challenges, but I just noticed those blank spots, which were concerning to me. So, great. That's all my questions, Madam President.
Okay. Mr. Byer, did you have some?
Yes. This is going to be for the very first, I just lost my page. It's right underneath academic core on domain 1, and it kind of goes to several of the areas, but when we're talking about all content areas, and we have very specific goals about meets grade level, we want to increase performance, meets grade level by 5% and masters by 4%. And I guess my overall question was, how did we come to those specific 4%, 5%? I mean, I understand there's probably a lot that goes into that, and that's kind of throughout the document. And I don't know, at least on the academic core side, if you can speak to what numbers were we looking at that specifically said we need 4% on this one, item.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. And you've met Brandy Merriman in the past and her team, and so she helps us with those projections. Oftentimes what she'll do is she'll help us to think through if we have a gap where we've gone backwards, how we might recover, which is some of what you heard in the growth goals over the period during COVID and after. And so she will help us look at longitudinal data to see how much is possible and what is necessary, and she'll help us to plan with those goals based on that longitudinal data. So that's how we are informed with the data point.
Okay. And so, and I know you didn't do this, but just for clarity, we didn't just say, hey, we want to go 5%.
Right, no.
We've got actual data behind that.
Yes, sir.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yes, absolutely.
And that we hope is attainable. We see that as we will be able to make that, because I had that similar question. Why sometimes 5 when some 4?
Yeah.
What's
Ms.
driving
Verona,
that?
if you can recall, one of the things that we talked about is really creating SMART goals. Because what you'll see sometimes is people put very lofty goals out there that they never hit the mark on. And in fact, we did have a part in our DIP that was shared with DEIC, and the DEIC team members pointed out, I think it was like a 7%. And they even acknowledged that seemed a little lofty, like we need to relook at that. And so we did, the team went back, relooked at that goal, and they were right that we needed to decrease that because historically we haven't shown more than 3 or 4% growth.
Okay.
And so really we try to make it so that way we can show those incremental changes that we need to make.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, David.
That's fine. On the CCMR portion, I'll just jump all the way down to page 39. A couple of questions about, we're talking about AP exams and dual credit on-ramps. And I want to make sure that we are, it looked like it was also in some of the SIP from some of the schools about increasing the numbers of people that take AP exams, for instance. And I want to make sure that, although I think that's great, I want to make sure that we're taking the time to make sure that people that are taking it are going to get their 3, 4, or 5 and not just take it to take it. Because I think that could do a disservice, and if we're just pushing people into things that they're not quite ready for,
So that's why as a district we've been wanting to provide lots of post-secondary opportunities, some that are the right fit for students. And so that's why we have a variety such as dual credit. We do have our on-ramps. We have our college prep, and we also have our AP exams as well.
Right.
We've also potentially even looked into ACT, which we just started, ACT School Day. We do SAT School Day.
Right.
So we try to do a variety of things to be able to maximize any student's potential. Even through PSAT, we try to offer that as well, because that is all tied to the CCMR indicator, which is part of House Bill 3.
Right.
And so, in essence, we also realized that a lot of our teachers who are relatively new to AP coursework had not received the College Board training. And this last year, we actually provided an AP summit that was personalized to any ISD this past summer. And we brought College Board to our teachers to be able to equip them with the skills and the tool belt necessary to prepare the kids for those AP exams.
Well, and I think my what I want to get to is making sure that, I mean, some of these programs, they cost us money, and some, like AP exams and that type of thing, it costs individual families money to take these things. And so making sure that we're looking at the effectiveness of this and not just saying, okay, well, we want, 1,000 more kids to take it, because I understand the College Board has a special interest in all this as well. And so we want to be mindful of kind of the effectiveness and why, somebody might want to take an AP exam, but not necessarily take the AP class, but not the exam, because they might find out, hey, I really don't need, I like the class, but I don't really need it for any kind of college credit. Same with dual credit
Yes.
and on-ramps. It's great to have it, but, are we actually using them? What's sort of on the back end?
So, Mr. Byer, if I can just kind of jump in there, part of our conversations that our counseling staff is having is the state push towards a 60 by 30 across the board. And so that's part of our accountability system. It actually hits our accountability rating. Now, we're not going to force kids down a road that they're not going to be successful in. But I will say a college 3, 4, or 5 on an AP exam means you have college credit.
Correct.
A 2 on an AP exam says you're college ready. And so by getting a 2 on an AP exam is actually prepping that kid for potentially a 3, 4, and 5. So they should be encouraged, because that's why they print a AP potential report. All that being said, the family, the child, they need to make the decision that's best for that child and take the courses or the exam they feel most comfortable being successful in. And so that is something we respect and we honor. What Dr. Munoz is talking about is diversifying the offerings for our kiddos being college or career ready, which is why we encourage our campuses to offer 2 choices instead of just saying everybody's going to be AP, because not everybody needs to sit in an AP course or take an AP exam. They may want to go do a dual credit, they may want to do on-ramps, but we really want families to make the choice and get into the vehicle that fits them best, whether that's even an industry-based certification or CTE course. So nothing should be pushed where it's saying you must take this, but it should be encouraged and really explained to the kids the benefits of one thing over the other.
Sure, and I want to make sure we're just not losing sight of that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I agree, diversification, we need to make sure that we have got options for everybody. And whether that's, the high-performing child who doesn't necessarily want to take one of those, but still has an option to take something similar, or just something that, that they're not necessarily forced into. And I know we're not forcing anybody, but to give those options, and then looking at those options on the back end to make sure that they're, stewardship wise, we're spending money like we should. And I know you're already looking at those things. Yeah. And just the effectiveness of what we're telling kids to do. Is this really beneficial to them in the long term?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. On the pupil personnel, I don't have a page number, I'm sorry, but we talk about increasing attendance by, it's like 0.5%, and I was just curious, I know we've had sort of attendance percentages all over the map over the last 3 or 4 years. Not terrible, but not like it historically was. And I guess, is that 0.5% just trying to get us sort of back to where we used to be, or is it something else other than that? I know that equates to dollars for us, but that's not the only reason. I know that.
So the number I came up with for this, we were looking at the last few years with regards to our attendance data, and we saw, a jump after the first year, then we had an increase of attendance, and it's nowhere near where we were before, the pandemic. So reasonably looking at what our expectations would be, that's where we arrived at that 0.5%, just being modest with regards to all the implementation of some newer projects we have in place. I've noted some of those in the dip as to what we're looking at for those, reinventing some of the duties of the attendance officers and kind of bolstering their toolbox, in addition to some of the messaging systems we currently have in place and enhancing those as well. So.
About how many students does 0.5% get us? Do you know?
How many?
I mean, sorry, if we increase attendance by 0.5%.
Like dollars?
No, numbers
Oh,
of students.
oh.
I guess I could do that with a.
Yeah, I mean, but it's. I mean, what? So, a percent would be it was about 2,500.
25. Okay.
Roughly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And the last question I had was about in the human resource area, we were talking about retention, and there was mention of employee engagement surveys and refining the exit surveys. And I'm just curious if those are in the works, or we have those in place, or what is the status of both the employee engagement survey and then the kind of refined exit survey?
Yes, we are in the process right now with Hanover. That's the group that we are consulting with to determine the final questions that we're going to be submitting to our staff for the engagement survey. So we hope with the next few weeks, hopefully before the winter break, that will be going out to our staff members so that we have time to analyze and then implement some things for the spring, and then see how that is, of course, affecting our retention of our staff. And then also with the redesign of our exit survey, we are in that process right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the questions I had for now.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the NEISD District Instructional Improvement Plan and House Bill 3 goals for the 2023-2024 school year as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you to everyone who worked on this dip and presentation.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Weren't we supposed to get the House Bill 3 presentation too with this? We just did this
Oh,
out of
did
order. Well, that's why I was pausing to do it, because it's two separate presentations. I was kind of like slow to push it. I just realized that.
It is two separate
Okay,
presentations.
I just,
Yes.
that's why I was confused, but okay, should have spoke up sooner.
Okay, here we go. Do we
Go ahead.
move forward
Sorry.
with this? Okay.
So I need to back up and say we
We
made
can
a
move to
motion.
reconsider after the presentation.
Sorry, I was jumping the gun. My apologies.
No problem, honestly. So this is part of our District Instructional Improvement Plan, which is part of House Bill 3, Early Literacy and CCMR. So today we are going to cover some information regarding how House Bill 3 was actually outlined by the state. We are going to go through early literacy goals, and we're going to cover college, career, and military readiness goals for our district. So as Mr. Jarrett referenced a little while ago, we have an overarching goal of a 60 by 30, and it states specifically there at least 60% of our Texans ages 25 through 34 will have a certificate or a degree. The second goal is completion of at least 550,000 students in 2030 will complete a certificate, associate, bachelor's, or master's from an institution of higher education in Texas. Our third goal is also having those marketable skills and marketability of skills, making sure that our graduates from Texas public institutions of higher ed have completed programs with identified marketable skills. And then also ensuring student debt is minimized. So undergraduate student loan debt will not exceed 60% of our first year wages for graduates of Texas public institutions. So under early literacy, and before I start with these goals, I am going to make reference to our lovely CNI EDs here. If you all do have a question specific to their areas, they're here to take your questions. So essentially what you are going to see here is a variety of green and pink. Obviously the green meaning that we have either met or exceeded that goal, and then with the pink showing that we did not quite meet that goal. I do want to specifically make reference to the fact that where it says 2023, that is an estimate score based on accountability and where we are at and the uncertainty behind all of that. We wanted to still ensure that we were on track to meet those particular percentages. And if you notice, year after year in that gray bar, there is a 1 to 2% increment in a positive direction. So even though we did not meet in certain percentages and certain criteria, we are still continuing to trend upwards when it comes to third grade students who score meets grade level or above on STAR reading. Our initial goal was to increase from 57% to 63%. And although going into 2023, our accountability or estimate score is a 55%, that essentially did not make the 60% goal mark, but we did increase, and we have increased with student populations year after year, even if it's a 1% to 2% growth, considering that it was post-COVID, and we are still trying to eliminate some of those achievement gaps. Even though we are not quite meeting that 60% goal, we do want to ensure that our students continue to progress forward. So under every single goal, we do have progress measures. Our first progress measure here is that the percent of pre-K students that score on track in phonological awareness on wave 3 of the Circle Literacy Diagnostic will increase from 74 to 85% by June 2024. And again, our goal was 80%. Our estimated score is 77. We are not quite at that 80, but we are slowly but surely moving upward. And if you notice at the bottom, our student populations are going up, and we do have more green in those charts. So it does specifically state, for example, if you look at the African American population from 2022 to 2023, it was a 73% all the way up to an 81%. So there is very specific growth that is primarily around the pre-K students on that particular indicator. And if you have questions on that, our lovely April, Dr. Muskies, can explain that in more detail. Also, our progress measure number 2 is a percent of kinder students that met or exceeded their growth goal on MAP reading. So we have an increase of 44%. Our goal was to increase from 44 to 53%. So our goal, if you notice there, we actually exceeded that goal with an estimate of 64% when we had primarily stated that we wanted to get to 50. So there is significant increase in performance when it comes to kinder students and then meeting their goal. And if you notice at the bottom, every single indicator, every single student population there met or exceeded that performance measure. Progress measure 3, the percent of first through third grade students that met or exceeded their growth goal on MAP reading will increase from 55 to 60%. And then once again, we met that particular goal at 57%. That is our estimate. And we do have multiple percentages throughout, yes, with some needing some work. But if you notice there, there is either a maintenance of that particular percentage or an increase in that percentage for every single student population listed below. So CCMR is a percentage of high school graduates who demonstrate preparedness for college, workforce, and or the military. And also, just for information, it is a year in the rear. So everything that you see is not from this past graduating class, but from the graduating class before. So it's important to note that whatever percentages you see here, there's still a lot of work that is actually happening at the campuses. And there is already some pretty awesome projections that we're going to see specifically for CCMR. So in order to attain the CCMR indicator, there's preparation from elementary all the way through high school. And if you notice there, those are just a few of the amounts of preparation that are happening across our district to be able to ensure that there is that math and that reading component and that measure there to be able to hopefully ensure that that student attains the CCMR indicator. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see that chart that as of 2023, the state is recognizing all of those components. A student just has to meet one of those components to be able to hit that particular indicator of CCMR. So everything from ACT to SAT, which we had a perfect score this evening on both. And then we also have our AP exams. We have our level 1 and level 2 certifications and on-ramps, just to list a few. All of those are also measures that we are providing all of our high school students to be able to see if they could find the right fit or the right pathway in order to earn that indicator. So the annual percentage of students that will meet the CCMR criteria will increase from 63.7% to 70%. And again, we had wanted our goal to be able to hit that 68%. Our estimate for this year is 62.8%. So we are not that far off considering the situations where these are all a year in the rear. We started our measures of accountability to ensure that we were providing the right supports and the right pathways for all of our students, but we knew we had a lot of work to do, and essentially we're doing the utmost to be able to provide all of our students those opportunities. And again, all the student populations at the bottom with special education, we are very proud to report that special education students are the highest in the region, attaining that CCMR indicator. So there's very significant growth happening throughout all of our campuses. Our first progress measure is the annual graduates that will be considered as college ready. So those are our SAT, ACT, AP, PSAT scores, TSI as well. And yet again, we do have that particular goal that just fell just a tiny bit from the previous year. But again, there is, if you notice at the bottom, there is significant growth in some student populations listed there, with a lot of very specified work to be able to ensure that the students who are not part of a, let's say, industry-based certification pathway or are not provided those opportunities for CCMR, that we ensure that they have an aligned pathway through their scheduling and through academics. Then we also have our percent of annual graduates that are considered career ready, and this one we're very proud of. Our industry-based certifications, we have had actually a very significant jump. Our goal was 20%, and we are actually estimated to be at 26.2%. That was when we went up by about I think it was a little over 1,000 industry-based certifications from the previous year, and now we went an additional 1,000 industry-based certifications. So if you notice, a lot of the percentages there show a pretty high increase across all student populations. So we're really, really proud of the CTE teachers, the CTE department as well. And then we also have our percent of annual graduates who have taken the TSI, increasing from 43 to 56%. Again, we are trying to ensure that this is a college entrance exam. These are certain exams that a student has to take to be able to take certain coursework. There are some specific courses that are dual credit courses that don't require the TSI. We're starting to transition to be able to provide those support through AVID, through library services, making sure that we're able to funnel in those supports so that that way if a student does take the TSI, that they can actually be successful and start on their dual credit coursework as well. Our progress measure 4, we do have the increase of percent of students enrolled in one or more advanced academic courses or CTE courses for high school credit each year from 66 to 73%. And yet again, we did want to be able to ensure that we at least grew or maintained. So our actual from the year before at 65 was maintained at 65. But if you notice at the bottom, there is a slight increase and decrease in some student populations. As far as our data goes for this year, we have approximately about 75.4% of our students here in our district who are taking a high school advanced course, are enrolled in a certification course or a high school advanced academics course. So there are a ton of kids that are going to yield those results. But again, because it is a year in the rear, we will see those progress measures and we will hit those progress measures within the next few years. And then also the percent of our 6th grade student scores that meet grade level or above on STAR reading will increase from 43% to 65%. And yet again, even though we did have our actual was at 50, our goal was 60, but if you notice our estimate is 54, there is still that particular increase. So it's truly a testament to the work that our teachers are doing to be able to capture some of those skills that are necessary to be able to hit those marks on STAR reading. The percent of 6th grade students that score meets grade level on STAR math from 49 to 67%. And although there is a percent that is lower than our particular goal, we still did increase by 1 percentage point there. And if you notice at the bottom, we were either able to maintain that percentage from the previous year to this year, or we were able to increase that percentage amongst all of our student groups. So in order to be able to achieve our CCMR targeted professional development plan. For middle school, we have advanced academic courses to be able to ensure that we're promoting and monitoring and retaining that enrollment from year to year. We're being able to also provide that support for PSAT and SAT when they eventually make it into the high school setting. And then ensuring that we're increasing that awareness of the CTE pathways through course fairs, making sure that there is professional learning for our counselors as well to be able to educate our parents on those pathways that lead to an industry-based certification. Amongst other things, we are providing a lot of our industry-based certifications internally so that it's removal of one other obstacle that families need to go and take their child to earn that certification. We actually provide many of them here as well. And then also for the high school setting to ensure that we're providing those professional learning opportunities, as I listed before, for our AP teachers, for our on-ramps teachers, making sure that we're providing those dual credit opportunities to be able to provide those options for students so that they find the right pathway, making sure that we're also monitoring through our CCMR specialists at our campuses to ensure that they are targeting the right kids, having those conversations with the right students who may have not earned their indicator. Also making sure that we're utilizing our resources like AP Classroom, making sure that we're providing AP Summer Institutes for our teachers to provide them with all the tools necessary to ensure that the kids are provided that support. It is ongoing. It is constantly changing, much like our TEKS, and a lot of our performance objectives change for some of our coursework. AP is constantly moving the bar, so we need to make sure that we also provide that support for our teachers. And then our career and military readiness to be able to ensure that our students are actually receiving the education necessary for industry-based certifications. We are also sharing that industry-based certification with our teachers as well, so that way they know that they can target those particular skills that are needed to earn that certification or that IBC for their students as well. So next steps for our campuses, we want to ensure that every single campus has a prescriptive plan that is aligned to their SIP and that is aligned to our district board goals. And so if you notice here, these are actually long sheets of paper that I had to take a snippet of that we're going to actually guide our campuses to look at their current progress measures, look where they are on track, and what specific prescriptive needs they have to provide for their students, educational pieces for their parents, making sure that they're providing the resources necessary. So every elementary and every secondary campus will have this plan, and it'll be a goal setting sheet that will also be provided on their campus web pages as well. That's our goal. But again, we want to be able to ensure that performance and planning, that CNI, that everything under the CNI umbrella with our district is also providing that goal setting sheet for them. So now we'll take any questions you may have.
I probably went back to earlier. I think it's slide 4, the early literacy progress measure 3, the early childhood literacy. Yep, that's it. And it ties back to the bigger holistic question from the DIP as well with the percentages. But you know, the question really is, obviously, yeah, we're required to measure by student groups, but where are the gaps, or what are you noticing, and what strategies are we putting in place in particular, is my first question tied to that, because obviously there's variance here.
There is, and if we see here, this is based on MAP reading growth, and that data is very specific as far as to each student's need. And it is based on a baseline assessment, and then throughout the year, that growth measure is individualized for the student. So those interventions are provided for the student as needed. We also have reading academies, which we have continued to train our new teachers, and then we're also training our 4th and 5th grade teachers as well in reading academies this year.
Okay, and for the targets, I know you're trying to meet it, but our goal should be 100% on grade level, because we know reading's foundational by 3rd grade to learn math, science, because that ties back to the first slide, which I'm just trying to understanding these goals. At the STAR test, we can have the debate about that, but obviously that's the current measurement on the outcome. And obviously, once again, those numbers are higher across the board, but still 60, 70, you know, my concern is that we aren't, I don't say we're not pushing, because I know we're trying to push and close the gaps, but are we really are we getting good feedback from the teachers, I guess, to make changes weekly and monthly? Are we implementing that strategy, and how are we getting feedback from the teachers? Because they're the touch points with the kids every day, sitting in the classroom. So how much flexibility do they have, and how is the feedback being fed up here, the good ideas going out across the district, and then the stuff that needs to be eliminated because there's limited instructional minutes is being eliminated?
So Mr. Hilliard, if I can jump in there. I'm going to try to answer all of that.
It's a lot there. I know I packaged a lot.
So part of it is, and Dr. Muskies just kind of mentioned it, is now every teacher is customizing a learning plan for each kid. So students don't all start off on the same starting point as every kid in that classroom, but our teachers are customizing to meet kids where they're at and then push them to get to a higher level. And so we have to take it as a holistic approach, but at the same time the teachers are individualizing. The other layer to that is we implemented district end of unit assessments. The reason we did that is because we wanted teachers to be more informed about where kids are progressing through the learning cycle versus waiting for a benchmark test to be given in January where there's not time to intervene and interject what their needs are. And so there's a lot of variations that the art of teaching requires teachers to adjust and use different tools. So we're just in constant conversation with them, whether it's through instructional coaches, whether it's through principals, whoever that may be. I agree with you. And the highest goal is that 100% of our students are reading on grade level when they should be reading on grade level. Our realistic is that we have to start wherever we're at, look at historical data, and really what we've been doing is pushing the envelope pretty hard where we're exceeding the expectations of the state as a whole.
Okay, because I'm just looking, some of our 2017, 2018, 2019 numbers, those meets and exceeds standards and categories is now much higher than we are now 6 years later.
Yeah,
and so that's a concern too, is the regression, and you can have the debate about 2020, 21, 22, but my concern is that we are getting back up to that level and exceeding it, because at the end of the day, is especially in these early years by third grade, that reading is foundational.
That's valid, and there's also the calculus, even in the math prior to the new tests, the state do incremental changes in growth measures that they say students need to meet each year, and so it's not apples to apples anymore. And so we're trying to get to a point where we get back to apples. Last year you saw substantial growth because the test was the exact same. You're going to naturally see a decline when the test change and the accountability ratings change. Dr. Munoz talked about it earlier. Right now, these are estimates. We're not exactly sure. Brandy Merriman is rerunning the numbers based on the new accountability system if it goes through. And then she just sent an email 2 minutes ago and said, scratch that, I need to redo it again. So these are, again, estimates, but what I can assure you is that that's the conversation we have. We've said it to principals. We're in the business where we're customizing and individualizing a plan for each and every child for us to all reach success.
And the teachers have the resources they need to do that, because obviously their primary thing is to teach. I know they got to know the students to do it, but are they being properly supported so that they're not spending hours on hours and hours doing that? I'll call it administrative burden, very critical to the child's learning, but at some point where they are focusing more of that teaching time and getting parent help in the classroom reading, like I know used to happen, especially in the elementary levels.
Yeah, I wish I could speak for every teacher. I hope that we're giving them the support, but if we're not, then I would love to know what support they would ask of us, and we would do our best to deliver it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Questions?
I did have one on the kinder. Sorry, looking at I guess go back a couple slides, or one more, that slide. Can you, and maybe I missed it, but can you explain if we are pretty significantly ahead of our goals on some of these categories, why we wouldn't necessarily do we not have enough data to show that we could bump that goal? Like one I'm looking at where our estimate is 70%, but or 60%, but for African Americans, but the next year's goal is 49%. I guess why wouldn't we bump that up to 62% and not go back to 49%? And that's just one example, but yeah.
And I can try to respond, but I know Dr. Munoz might be able to support me here. I know these goals were set 5 years ago, and so based on those increments, that's currently where we're at based on that.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Byer, when the state delivered this document to us, they said you need a 5-year plan.
Right.
So you incrementally create that 5-year plan, and then our students outperform what that plan is, and so then it needs to be reevaluated at that point.
And we don't necessarily have the ability during that 5 years to sort of adjust our goals to meet. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? So we'll try this again. Do I have a motion to approve the NEISD District Instructional Improvement Plan and House Bill 3 goals for the 2023-2024 school year as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, possible action regarding 2023-2024 campus instructional improvement plans. Is that you, Dr. Munoz?
That's
again?
me.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. Today, we bring to you our 23-24 campus instructional improvement plans. We made reference to this a little while ago, but you will actually get to see a visual of our new potential plans. So again, in alignment with our district scorecard, we are looking at student, staff, stakeholders, and stewardship, making sure that all of our campuses are functioning very much like our district to ensure that those goals are being met from the campus then to our district. We're also ensuring that we have alignment between our board goals 1 through 8, excuse me. We are also trying to ensure that we are as close to alignment with our accountability measures as possible. We do not know exactly where that's going to land, but we are still trying to remain as close to those SMART goals that we have been very much in alignment to, in hopes that the state, once they release those, we can see that we are actually on target. And then also the content is developed in partnership with the campuses. Our district is constantly reaching out to the campuses to students, to families, to ensure that there's an alignment in exactly what needs to be done and developed in partnership to reach those goals. Again, it is a very similar plan to our district plan. We ensure that we are in alignment with our scorecard. There's district goals and objectives. They have developed a comprehensive needs assessment, which they do every year based on our goals and based on our data. That alignment then needs to be seen between the district and the campus. DEIC was able to see some of those to adopt, and then now we bring these to you for final board approval. So our traditional plans, we do have our sections and board goals. We identify the goals defined by our school board and our district. We list target areas. We ensure that there is measurable evaluation criteria that's listed there. And then also that those performance objectives are monitored throughout. Those checkpoints basically ensure that the campus has gone back to be able to see if they've met the mark or not. At that given point, at any given point, because of the fact that just like the DIP, the SIP is a living, breathing document, we're able to go and adjust those percentages based on what needs our students may have and what checkpoints they have been able to meet and surpass, so we can move those percentages up. And then also we have the timeline, the persons responsible, and the resources. As a district who has both title and non-title campuses, we also have state compensatory education funds that help support at-risk students. We also have those costs listed there. So our new platform, Plan for Learning, we started with cohort 1. We started with 7 campuses. We added 24 campuses, which was a large feat, but we were able to do it very successfully at that. We now have a total of 31 campuses who are currently on Plan for Learning, and as you can see, that is now the framework. But everything, if you look at it being a blank canvas, the goals were there because there are board goals, but the performance objectives, the high priority House Bill 3 goals, the evaluation data sources, the strategies, and everything in between had to be structured from the very beginning with our campuses, and they've been troopers. They've done an amazing job. That has also been very much closely in alignment with their comprehensive needs assessment, so they actually went back and answered some pretty specific questions around letter A through D. So they had to see demographics, student learning, school processes and programs, perceptions. Then they had to go and create those performance objectives, look at that evaluation data source, and then be able to ensure that they were able to establish those SMART goals and strategies. They just had their most recent session with Plan for Learning, which is part of the formative check. So if you notice, the first indicator there is in November. So they're going to be able to see whether they met that indicator or not. And just like we see in our antiquated system on the OneDrive, right now with Plan for Learning, we've actually been working very closely with our web services office, and they have actually been able to connect those two pieces to where a campus principal can go in at any time, adjust those formative checks or any information, and it automatically gets updated on their campus webpage. So that has been that has actually removed a huge barrier on trying to get the most up-to-date plans onto their webpage and the website. And so eventually we want to get to cohort 3, which is going to entail all NEISD campuses to be able to be part of the Plan for Learning system. In addition to that, we are also ensuring that campuses are having CIC meetings, that they're sharing their campus plans through their Discover Our Campus page. And in addition to that, they do list their agendas for their CIC meetings. We are requiring one beginning, one middle, and one end of year CIC meeting. And then also that they upload the minutes, so that way the community, if they cannot be in attendance or if they're not part of the committee, that they could actually see what are some goals or what are some focuses for that particular campus, and what they want to be able to ensure that they provide their families, their students, and their staff. So we do have all of those listed there. Again, Web Services was able to provide us that opportunity to be able to link all that information there. It's been a journey as well, but it's been great because all of our campuses have gotten to post what those wonderful agendas entail, and then also the minutes of their meetings to communicate to their communities. And then again, the link is not there, but it is part of Learning Support Services, our department. It is part of that yellow square. If you click on that, it'll take you to our district improvement plan and then our campus instructional improvement plans. Are there any questions?
Questions? No.
Something. I want you all to be aware of something. So I think everybody knows HB1 is up in Austin right now, and it's going to the House. In part of that, that's a very big bill, but part of that, and what's making our job, or I should say Mr. Jarrett and his team's job, so difficult, is if HB1 passes, it's going to roll back the accountability manual, and the accountability manual will, instead of these new changes that are being proposed, the old accountability manual will stay in place until 2026. So and you have a suit that was filed that put a pause on accountability. So there's just a lot of, I think, Mr. Jarrett, I think you say it best, shifting sand that's happening right now that makes all of setting goals and things rather difficult at this point. Do you have anything to add, you want to add to that?
I appreciate that, and it is a little bit of shifting sand. And so really, we hope the numbers and percents are accurate, but what our hyper-focus, of course, is going to be the strategies and just doing everything we can to put kids in the best seat. So whatever the state decides, we just want our kids to be at the place where they need to be so that they can be successful. And so we're not going to use that as an excuse or a barrier, but it is our reality is that we're trying to, I guess, make a plan for what is unknown, but we still have to act like we know it.
Because if that bill were to pass, not only would it roll back the accountability manual, it'll also, to the point of this lawsuit that's going on, would push pause on the accountability. So we'll wait to see.
Okay. So, no other questions. Do I have a motion to approve the NEISD Campus Instructional Improvement Plan for the 2023-2024 school year as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Landry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the campuses for all their hard work in putting those plans together. Item B, Business Services. 1, possible action regarding annual comprehensive financial report for the year ended June 30, 2023. Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Mike, executive staff, and guests. I call on Susie Lockhorn, our Executive Director of Finance and Accounting, and Jeff Coates, our Senior Director of Finance and Accounting, to present this annual comprehensive financial report.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Micah, ladies and gentlemen of the board, executive staff, and guests. I'm excited to be here to talk about the annual comprehensive financial report. It's good to be done. Boss, oh, there you go. All right. It's a huge report, 250-some pages. Very few people get through the whole thing, but the best way to read it is to look at the introductory section. the table of contents that will tell you where individual schedules are, explanations in the footnotes, so it's easier to find what you're looking for. There's a transmittal letter that looks forward to the district's future, talks about some of our achievements, some of our challenges that are coming forth financially. And then in the management discussion analysis, we talk about what's happened during the year, the highlights, the lowlights, and just some general changes both in the fund level and in the full accrual government-wide statements. Finally, in the MD&A, there is a separate discussion of GASB 68 and 75, which is related to TRS pensions and TRS OPEB. It was a huge statement that we don't have a whole lot of control over, but it has a major impact on our financial statements. So based on that, well, I already hit this, Susie. You want to go through? And so the government-wide is a full accrual, like corporations. Is different than the normal accounting that we look at. We look at a modified accrual, which is kind of a cash basis when you look at the budget to actual and the interim financial statements. So the government-wide schedules A1 and B1 are full accrual like you would see in corporations. You have long-term debt, you have capital assets, and of course the infamous pension and OPEB liabilities. This is the government-wide summary in the MD&A. It talks about the various changes compared to last year. Next, please. And something unusual for this year, because of changes in actuarial assumptions and compared to actual activity, we actually have a net positive net position. First time in about 5 years that we've had a positive net position in total because of changes in TRS and OPEB. Familiar statements are your C1 and C3. It's your balance sheet and income statement for the fund level statements. Then you have your budget to actual statements in general fund, food service, and also debt service. And this is a comparison, the final budget to our actual numbers. This is the first time y'all have had a chance to see this because we just finished the actual numbers with this audit.
So we had some exciting news. Our revenue numbers were higher than what we had budgeted way back May, June. So don't get too excited because some of it's one-time money. And so as much as I love money, I love ongoing money a lot more than I do one-time money. But looking at how we finished 23-24, we got a $2 million prior year adjustment to older years. So another $2 million to the bottom line. There was about a $4 million hold harmless TEA had for an old change to the homestead exemption that still makes me nervous that someday they're going to knock on the door and ask for that back. But right now I'm going to enjoy having it and earning interest off of it. A few changes in our TRS revenue, which is offset by some expenses. And overall, we had a little bit more in federal revenue. I'm always very pessimistic on federal revenue when we're estimating it. News reports like what we've been seeing recently and the planned cuts to title funding always live with me a very long time, so don't like to count on money that might see changes like that. And then our investment earnings were better than expected. And so we also have to book an adjustment for what our investments are sitting at for fair market value. So that doesn't necessarily turn into cash, but it projects a healthy outlook for us. So our revenue was a good $13 million higher than what we were planning. And again, all these little pieces added up, and some of it's one time, most of it's all one time, but it gets to drop down to our bottom line and help us overall. So, but this gives you a breakdown of those pieces and then our net change to fund balance. So remember, our final budget wasn't really our projection. We always add a budget within those function costs, and then every year I show you that budget and the projection. And so because we don't want TEA to get mad at us because we spent more in a particular function line. And so our expenditure budget is always higher than our projection because we have to have a higher budget than what we're going to actually spend. So we, in our budget study sessions, we're looking at over $10 million, and we ended up over 20. So we will take our extra money very happily.
All right, and that is it. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, one thing, when we sent the draft, we had some highlights in there. That's just for us. It didn't mean there were no concerns. There weren't anything in there that you needed to worry about. But if you saw those highlights, that's us.
That was a reminder for us, yeah.
Yeah, and page 218, it has to, it's internal controller financial reporting material weaknesses. We highlighted yes, even though no is checked. That was just for us to be able to go back and
Make sure that
we
schedule's
kind of
updated.
cleaned everything up except for that yes. So, but it's a no. I mean, there was no material weaknesses.
Everything's fine.
Got-
All good.
Okay, do you have a question, Ms. Yui? Because I had one question based on the email we
Yeah,
got this morning.
I just had a couple of things. On page 201, it's showing there's a drop in percentage of economically disadvantaged students. Do we know why that happened? It's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm just curious.
The year before, we were able.
High, it really went up, yeah.
And that was whenever the whole district was on, everybody could eat for free. And so we were just doing those forms and not the formal federal meal applications. And so
Got it.
when you switch back to those federal meal applications that are much more complex, much more data, and it kind of scares you when you're filling it out because it's got a lot of legal language in it. You don't collect as many, and so you can't identify as many kids as when everybody's just clicking the form as they're going through, and it's just a handful of questions. You went from a very simple data collection point to a much more complex one.
Okay. All right.
And we also have a recovering economy. I don't want to say it's not all on us, but we do have a recovering economy.
Yeah, I'd highlighted that yes thing too. Okay, I'm trying to get down to these others. And again, this is just on page, oops, wait a second, 210. Why is our square footage dropped? Our school numbers are the same, but from 2020 to 2023, we've lost square footage. Is that the portables? Or why did they decrease?
More than likely, those are portables that we've shifted
Okay.
and no longer in service.
Okay, just
That's
seemed
the
strange that
most
we're
likely
shrinking.
thing.
Okay.
We're not tearing down buildings or anything
I
like
didn't
that,
think we
no.
were, so I was trying to figure that
But-
out, so,
But
okay.
we also, square footage is actually a pretty hard number to put your hands on when you're this big, and so you
Sure.
also make adjustments as you go. But for the most part, it's movements of portables.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I just had the one, when we got the email, it said minor changes may still be made as auditors will continue to review. Have there been any minor changes? Because we're going to have to prove this, I'm assuming as is, or will this, because obviously what we're putting our name to or agreeing to, will there be changes?
So the financial statements are still as is, but we will continue to find typos honestly, the day after we send it to TEA, we will find 2 typos.
Okay, so,
And
but we're talking changes, we're not talking any numbers or structural, we're talking more reading, writing, math.
Right,
Not
yes,
math,
sir.
reading and writing.
Yeah.
English.
It's an unmodified opinion, so yeah, I mean, that doesn't change.
Okay.
At the end of probably February, March, April, TA sends us a letter, hey, in this paragraph, you had the wrong number, blah, 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 but it's not material changes. It like Susie was saying, it's more typos than
That's,
anything else.
okay, I just wasn't sure the changes weren't to numbers and that piece of the equation, it's more of what the thing, that was, if there's no changes significant, if it's that typos, no
The
problem.
thing we find most commonly is we have the MD&A section with a lot of numbers, we have the footnotes with a lot of numbers, and then we have all those stats sections with a lot of numbers. And it's very easy. We manually key those numbers in, and it's very easy to have a typo. And so we spend a lot of time going from one schedule to another, to another, to another. And is there such a thing as number hypnosis? Because I think at some point in time we get I can't even see the typo anymore because you've looked at the numbers so many times. And then we find them, and so we always want you to be aware that if we find an error, we're going to fix it. But the financial statements as a whole, everything should be fine.
And you may not have noticed, but the page numbers will have some gaps in it or maybe duplicates because we're still adjusting those.
I just want to make sure the changes weren't tied to the big numbers. Okay, thank you. That's it for me, Madam President.
Any other questions or comments about this? So,
In this case, we'd like to bring up Ms. Janet Pittman from our external auditor to discuss the audit opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff and Susie. Thank you for having me here this evening to go over the results of your financial audit for 2023. Susie and Jeff have provided you with some financial highlights. I want to talk to our 3 audit opinions that are in your report. Anyway, so the first one is our independent auditor's report. It is what we call an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that an auditor can provide you with. It basically says we did not make any modifications to your financial statements. The numbers that you're getting throughout the year, we didn't have any changes to. So you can use your numbers to base your financial decisions on. The second report is a report on internal controls over your financial reporting. So we look very closely at your internal controls and segregation of duties to make sure that you've got the proper segregation of duties. And if we had any issues, we would have that would be in that report, but we are happy to tell you that we did not have any issues on your internal controls or segregation of duties. Our third report is on your single audit, which is the federal funds that you receive from the government. You have to have a single audit if you have over $750,000 of federal funds during the year. You have a little more than that, like $138 million. So we did go through and identify the major programs this year, whereas the ESSER funds that you received and also the child nutrition funds. And we are pleased to report that we did not have any findings or question costs on any of those funds that we audited. And that's all I have unless anyone has any questions on the audit process. And your numbers are good. We've both looked at them. We've verified them back and forth. So I can assure you your numbers are good in the financials. They're not going to change.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Pittman? All right. Thank you for giving the overview of those reports. Sure. Appreciate that. Do I have a motion?
Can I ask one more thing?
I'm sorry.
This report is so fantastic. I mean, does this get posted on the website? How can we reference, give this? If it is, it's on the website, so I can send a link to someone if they're curious to know what's going on financially.
Yes.
Yeah, if you go to the Finance and Accounting Department website,
Okay.
there's a link there for annual financial reports.
Okay, there is, okay. And I did forget I had one other question too. It talks about a private purpose trust fund for scholarships that reported in a separate statement of fiduciary net position. What is that private trust?
It's a type of governmental fund that records the restricted portion of some donations that we received. The biggest portion was from the Poppy family, I believe it was.
Yes,
and they
okay,
had some
I remember that now.
specific restrictions on, we can't use the corpus of the donation. We can only use the interest and principal. And so that records the activity of that donation.
Okay, all right, thanks. I was trying, it said private purpose, and nothing seemed to strike a chord for me. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a little misleading. It makes it sound like we're taking public money and doing something else. No.
I was just trying to relate that, once you said Poppy, that makes sense now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept, sign, and file as required under law the annual comprehensive financial report for the year ended June 30, 2023?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Landry. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Item 2, possible action regarding public notice of the school first rating report of superior achievement.
Yes, Madam President. I have Jeff Coates, our Senior Director of Finance and Accounting, to present.
Good evening, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and guests. Once again, I'm excited to be here to talk about FIRST. I'm going to borrow a phrase from earlier. The FIRST ratings are a year in arrear. They're based on the audit results from last year, and TA issues them in the late fall for us to analyze and go through. These are various criteria that we have for the FIRST rating. It's been in place since the early 2000s, I believe it was, or 1999, so it's been around for a long time, but changes almost every other year.
Yeah, it's been in effect over 20 years.
That's just more of the different indicators. These are ceilings that limit how high your rating can go. Sometimes these ceilings will cause you to fail. Sometimes they'll cap you at a B rating. Fortunately, we passed all of these. They weren't a concern. And overall, we passed with a rating of superior, or an A in school district terms. We have not had a rating below an A since FIRST has been around.
So bear in mind, I just always want to put this little bug in your ear. There are certain things that on those ceilings that could trigger us to get a B in the future. And some of those things are things that you would purposely choose to do because they save the taxpayer money. So at that point in time, in the past, we've been pretty close to a B, like chewing on our nails. But the indicator that pushed us down was because we chose to do a commercial paper program whenever we were issuing bonds. And that commercial paper program saved our taxpayers a ton of money. So at some point in time, because these indicators are meant for statewide, when you're doing something that's a little bit unique, you could see some penalty because of trying to save money in the long run or some sort of operational thing. And so these indicators are just something to keep in mind, that at some point in time, it might be worthwhile to take the hit on FIRST in order to save money in the long run.
So Susie, I guess instead of issuing bonds right away, we went through the commercial paper, and it was like really, really small interest that we had to pay. So when we got to 100 million, then we go out to market and sell those bonds, as opposed to selling them up front and having to pay 3%, 4%, 5%. So the state has not really caught up to the way we kind of manage our money, and we've been talking to them. There's only a few districts that do commercial paper and then move over to bonded debt, but that's something that we keep asking. So they were going to ding us on us doing commercial paper, even though we're saving a ton of money on interest. So we just didn't understand that. But I mean, we've had dialogue with them back and forth to try to get them to understand how much money we can potentially save, or we have saved our taxpayers. So that's kind of what.
And it's not in play right now, but it's just something to bear in mind, that these indicators are really set for certain purposes, and if you do something outside of that, then it could damage your score. Most of the districts in the state receive the superior rating. These are the percentage of districts receiving each rating.
The one indicator that we did not get a perfect score on was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets. And this is more or less just a function of how long we've had our capital assets versus how long our debt payments are going out. Our assets have depreciated faster than we paid off our debt, because our debt's 30-year notes.
Yep. We still got 6 points. This is only an indicator that we didn't get the max points on. So we got it at an overall 94 out of 100. I mean, 96 out of 100.
96 out of 100.
Sorry, 96. We got a 96.
Questions on FIRST?
Any questions?
Just kind of the same question as earlier. This report's readily available, and we can find links to share with
Yes,
people.
this report will be posted on the website tomorrow under the Finance and Accounting.
Great.
And we can send you a link if that makes it easier.
That'd be great, yeah. I think this, I mean, I've seen these reports for years, but as detailed as it is, it's also really easy to follow, and I really appreciate that. I think that can help a lot. There's one of the factors that's always discussed is that we have, the term is bloated administration, and look, we're going down, and it's very clearly stated that there is a cap on the percentage of a budget that can be spent on administration. So I want to just say thank you for keeping us below that cap so wonderfully. I mean, we've done that 10 points, I think, forever. So, and it's actually decreasing. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments about this? Okay, do I have a motion that the TEA School District Financial Integrity Rating of Superior Achievement be noted and the NAISD Annual Management Report on Schools First be accepted?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you all. Item C, consent. 1, instruction and campus administration. A, JROTC Rappel Tower. 2, business services. A, tax roll approval. B, over 50,000 purchases. 3, minutes from October 2023. 4, end of consent. Do I have a board member wishing to pull an item from consent?
Madam President, I have 3 I'd like to pull, 12C1A, 12C2B, and C3, the minutes, please.
Okay, 2B and 3. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve consent without 1A, 2B, and 3?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 1A.
All right, this is the rappelling tower donation from ROTC, well, to the JROTC program from the Neve Gala, but the cost has basically tripled from the initial grant amount. And I guess I have a couple of questions, because first off, is this a requirement for us to have a rappelling tower? Colonel Channel, is this a requirement for us to have this?
No, sir.
No, okay, this is, how many other school districts in the state have one?
That I know of, none.
Okay, so this would be the first, okay. The question, and I don't know if you know this, but the bid cost, initially it was projected for $100,000, now we're at $297,000 from the initial estimate grant. And I don't know if you were involved in that bid process, or if that's all contracting. Are you?
I'm familiar with how the
Okay.
numbers go with it. Yes, sir.
And I know the city of San Antonio involved, but when was the initial bid put out versus the received back? Because it jumped by basically $197,000.
Yes, sir.
Is
Well,
this-
well, the bid hasn't gone out yet.
Okay.
That's this process now.
Okay.
But when we initially did it, we had an estimate for $100,000, and then when we went to the city to start the process for the permit, we got a lot of things added on that we didn't expect. I don't know if you're familiar with Camp Henson, but Camp Henson is a rather undeveloped area. It's just a bunch of scrub trees and some obstacles. We've put 17 different obstacles on Camp Henson over the last several years, none of which have resulted in even a peep from the city. This here particular obstacle, they viewed it as development requiring provision of basic services, water, electricity, sewer. All of those things have absolutely nothing to do with the rappel tower. And I'm not trying to criticize the city. It's just the way it is. So those costs drove up. Surprisingly enough, they got close to $800,000 by the time we were done. And so through a series of meetings with the city and negotiation and the like, the things that are still in there that are driving the cost are safety related, fire and safety related, because obviously we want to take care of the kids. But that's where we're at.
Okay. Because obviously I'm a big supporter, military. I've actually been on
Cool.
Rebellion Tower. Having said that, looking at it from the taxpayer,
Sure.
$147,000 for something that we don't have to have, when we just heard another earlier safety concern from a parent about key access. There's lots of stuff. I have a hard time getting there using our contingency funds when we were in a $35 million debt. One of my questions was, have we gone back to the city and engaged them to
Yes, sir,
reduce it?
several times.
Have we gone to Councilman Courage? We look at corporate sponsors like HEB Valero or Military City USA. Is there a way we can reimagine this where we can get the funding from some of our community partners? Because I think this would be a great asset, but it's hard to justify $147,000 when we're at $35 million.
So Mr. Hilliard, the original donation from NEAF was $100,000. We went back to them and they granted us $50,000 more. And so we went to the city, to Colonel LaChance. I'll say it right this time.
Thank you, sir.
The original estimate was almost $800,000. And so we did go back to the city and engage them in, because one of the things was like bringing in this $80,000 bathroom facility. And I'm like, I've seen other ways to get this accomplished. So through that, we were able to get it down to this cost, to $297. We have fundraised and done. Colonel LaChance presented at NEAF, and we got, Gordon Hartman gave us $25,000. I don't know of much more we can pursue to go after. I mean, I guess we can try. I just want you to understand that the money proposed is not extra outside the budget. We have it in our budget currently to pay for it through contingency dollars. However, ultimately, it's y'all's decision.
Well, I understand that. I mean, also, because we were having the same conversation about the Hidden Forest grant and the city being involved in ongoing maintenance and costs and all that, because this is going to have ongoing maintenance costs and that too. So how is that being factored in the out years? I'm just looking at it. We have to be very judicious with
Absolutely.
the
So Colonel LaChance has a budget every year, and he understands that that will be a big part of his is to maintain that tower and keep it up to date.
Yes, sir. With the provision of the tower, it has an opportunity to actually be a revenue source for us, so we can maintain the obstacles that we have at Camp Henson and continue to develop Camp Henson as well, thus reducing the cost for the district in the long run.
How would it be a revenue source? By holding competitions out there and charging for it, or just?
No, sir. At charging a usage fee.
Okay.
For, I've already stated, it's
one.
the only game in town. It'll generate significant interest, certainly from other districts, other schools. I can tell you the San Antonio SWAT has already approached me. The fire department has already approached me. I can see opportunities even in the private sector that would be interested in doing this for team development.
Confidence
growth.
course, team build.
Yes, sir.
But how do we know we can monetize that, I guess? I mean, I'm not against this. I just looking at it from the taxpayer.
Sure.
So can we go back and come back in a month saying, here's our plan for usage, here's that stuff?
I'll say this, Mr. Hilliard. One, how can we monetize it? We monetize our facilities already. We have rental agreements, so that's not a problem. The piece here is the longer we wait, the cost continues to go up. And so every piece of construction continues to rise. I've visited with several folks from the building construction areas that are still not foreseeing much decline. And so that's really the issue is this has gone on for quite some time due to what we've been dealing with, trying to get through permitting and all of this piece.
Okay, what's the total in our contingency budget for the remainder of this year? How much is remaining in the contingency budget?
Dan, how much is left in the contingency budget?
A little less than $2 million.
Okay, because I mean, obviously it concerns about Larkspur, Keys, and I know there's more to that story as well, and we can discuss that.
Yes, and
but I want to make sure.
Just so you know, I'll send you all an email tomorrow about that.
But I once again, I'm a big supporter, but this is just to triple the cost of something. And so the bid has not gone out yet. Is that correct then? This is just what we estimate it's going to cost to do?
Yes, sir.
So what if it goes over the $297,000?
We'll bring it back to you all. I mean, we can't do it without your approval.
And I will tell you, sir, that as we're going out for the bids, we're building various off-ramps. So if we can't afford something, then we can build down if necessary.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
No.
Do you want to make a motion to approve consent 1A? Or
Does
do
anyone
I-
have any other questions besides me? I don't know if I'm the only one who had a question on that. Okay, concern. Anybody else? Okay, if not, yeah, I'll make the motion to approve consent item, what's it, 12C1A?
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, item 2B.
Okay, this is the over 50,000 purchases. So I guess I'm going to start at the top because I think I have a question on all of these. So the first one was career and technology, student resources, test prep, industry certifications. But we approved in June 171,000, but another 48,000 is needed for certification, test prep, student resources. So what is that new add of 48,000 that we didn't factor in for the school year? I guess is my question.
I'll ask Dr. Munoz to come forward for that one, but I assume that it is more students taking the test prep, but I don't, is that correct? Yes, more students taking the test prep.
Okay, so we didn't have an accurate assessment then, or accurate guess? We obviously, that's almost not quite double, but so we're having another 30%, 40% more students taking those 7 certification courses than expected?
There has been an increase in the industry-based certifications, and then also we do receive reimbursement for some of those certifications whenever a student does attain that.
So we'll pay for it, and then if they get certified, some of that'll come back into the.
Correct.
But there's no guarantee. Okay. That's good on that one. Appreciate that. The next one, 2, 3, and 4 are the fine arts. 2 and 4 additional travel, we approved 110,000, and then the other one is 300,000 for non-competitive travel. But were these not known expenses, I guess? Why wasn't this in the original budget? Because don't we travel every year? I guess that's my question is.
We do travel every year. We have bid vendors that our directors are allowed to use and utilize. So depending on who they choose to use, will change who we're going to be spending that money with.
Okay.
So that's why.
But so the $300,000 was not previously asked for Varsity Spirit. This is a new ask? Or is this just approving, was it already in the budget? Because it sounds like this is a new request for money.
So I'm not sure which budget you're referring to, but this is also paid by student activity funds, campus activity funds. So students fundraise for these items, but because that money comes into the district and it's paid for through district funds, you have to approve when they spend more than $50,000.
Okay.
So this is not coming out of my fine arts budget. This is coming from campus activity accounts on campuses.
Okay, but this wasn't in the original budget we submitted. That was approved by the board last June, I guess is my question, this estimate amount.
No,
No?
sir.
Okay, so this is new.
These items are purchasing related.
Mhm.
If we needed more funds on the budget side, we'd bring you a budget amendment. And so this is only from the purchasing side. And so like the uniform things, we have that in the budget every year. And then the travel stuff is embedded in different budgets for them to do. So it's not, these aren't extra adds to the budget.
Yeah, just the fact they weren't asked for, that's just, I don't remember that having a mid-year number like 300,000. And then the fine arts uniform replacement, is that an additional request or that's part of the program?
So I'm given a special allocation every year of $153,244.
Exactly, perfect.
And that usually, it's on an 8-year rotation for our music programs. So it is each high school gets a year, and on the 8th year, all 7 high schools, choir and orchestra combined, we buy new uniforms for them. So that's why it's on an 8-year rotation.
So this is just to go out and buy the stuff. It's already in the approved
I already
budget.
have that in my
Okay, because
budget.
this is maybe, they were looking weird because these were new ads for the 50K approval.
And
so-
the varsity that you're seeing for $300,000 as well, varsity encompasses, it's a huge business. And so camps, contests, uniforms, music edits, choreography, all of those things fall in there. But I also don't know which of our schools are going to get bids to go to nationals. So that's also part of it. So some of our schools choose to use a travel company to get themselves to a nationals, where others will go through varsity. So when we have 7 different high schools, I'm having to guess, are you going to use varsity? Or are you going to use a different travel company? So we didn't know all of those pieces until later.
Okay. But this should cover us through the end of the school year, we believe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. That is my questions. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The performance and accountability, the ediphoria for the subscription, the Teeks Bank, we approved $250 in June, but there's another $65,000 for a subscription. So did the subscription we got in June not cover this, or I guess what's the additional $65,000?
It was an increase in cost from the company for the product.
When does the increase kick in? Because didn't we buy a year-long contract? Can they just change the rates on us?
So June was the approval of what we anticipated, and it actually changed in August when we actually purchased, so.
Okay, but you're just coming to us now in November, even though you purchased in August?
Well, it's a renewal, so we're just renewing the product.
Okay.
But it was an increase in the cost of the product from Eduphoria.
Okay, so that was just, okay, so that's what we approved. Okay, that answers that, and then I guess it goes down to the same with the secured mobile tag. We approved 158, but it's another 83,000 for the 22-23 school year annual subscription, so.
Yeah, that is, you approved for this year at the last board meeting. We didn't pay the bill for last year because we were in negotiations to receive some credits. We received credits of $75,000. We didn't want to pay the bill until we got settled. Now that that's settled, we just need that $83,000 to pay for the bill for last year.
Because that's the bill for last year, okay. All right, that answers those questions. I just, some of it was trying to figure out with, especially the subscription-based stuff. So thank you, Mrs. Short, thanks for all the explanation on the competition travel stuff for Fine Arts.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve 2B.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, who did the second go to?
Mr. Byer, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever, either one.
Item 3, minutes.
Yes, Madam President. 27 October, page 2, the last speaker, I believe her last name, it's Ms. Lenartz. I believe there's a Z, Mrs. Yu. I think she's a friend of yours, but they misspelled her name. I just wanted to make sure we had the accurate record for all the people that showed up, that we spelled their names properly on the
Okay.
minutes to properly articulate it.
Okay, add a Z to the end of Karen Lenartz.
I believe that's her proper spelling based on the sign-in sheet.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve the minutes from October 2023?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 13, reports. A, interim financial and management reports. B, awarded bid report. C, federal grants report. D, first quarter investment report. E, open records request report. Those have been provided to you. Item 14, discussion and possible action regarding board members' requests for items to be placed on a future agenda and/or requests for reports from the administration. Do I have a board member with anything?
I've got several, but if somebody wants to go for me, I've got actually 3 different requests, but if somebody wants to go before me, if anything
I
else.
just have one, a discussion regarding the dual language concerns in the community meetings.
So you would like a presentation or a report on that?
A discussion and possible action on.
So you want it on the next board agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So you're wanting to know what the community concerns are?
I think we saw a lot of community concerns, just discussion around the community concerns and the presentations of the community meetings and when those will take place.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we got an
Yeah, I was gonna
email
say-
about when all those community meetings are.
Yeah,
and
we
they
got a
are
couple of things.
on our calendar.
Well, that was what I was a little confused about. The community meetings won't be finished until January. So I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out, I was trying to write what you were making a motion for, and I couldn't follow that.
Okay.
The community meetings won't be done until January, so would that be more the appropriate time when those
The
are
email just came in, I
finished?
think, today or yesterday, but
We got
Okay.
it, we
I
got it
hadn't- I
last
hadn't-
Thursday or
or last
Friday.
Yeah, I
Thursday,
think
I'm
we-
just,
And it's on our calendar.
Yeah,
for-
yeah, they're all, in fact, there was one tonight, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we got the notification a little bit late. But yeah, there's a list that came in,
Last week, yeah,
yeah, it's Thursday or Friday.
yeah.
Okay, I missed it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I
is-
withdraw my.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
did you have anything? you
thank you. I
wanted
was, okay.
I've got a couple, and Mr. Barr, do you have some? I saw your thing lit up. If you got something, you go ahead first.
I do have one I wanted to, if you don't mind me.
No,
going
absolutely,
first. I'd like to, I guess either on the next available meeting, add an agenda item to discuss single-member District 2, or continue that discussion. I know we got some information from our attorney via email about the election process. And I think the notes indicated that we were going to take some time and come back and discuss this, so I think it's important that we continue that to whatever end that might be. So I would request that we put that on. I know we have a meeting.
We have a meeting November 27th, which.
Is there something on that already?
Right now, it's just the internal quarterly audit report. So we can, do you want to add it to that meeting?
I would prefer to do that if we can, yes.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd move to add a discussion of single-member District 2 and possible action on the November 27th special meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay. Mr. Hilliard?
Yep. First one, this is based on the convocation from the 1,000 teachers that talked about classroom management in regards to discipline policies and procedures. So I moved to have a presentation along with discussion and possible action to include the results of that survey, including the specific comments from teacher surveys, the comparison of discipline over the last 5 years, similar to the one we got in March of 2023. Dr. Micah sent us a 5-year snapshot, elementary, middle, high school, and then all associated board policies, including the student code of conduct for possible changes if they are appropriate, and then the associated admin regs so we know how the pieces work together. But so we can address that concern, since that's the number one concern of over 1,000 teachers. I think we need to, as a board, look at that. So if there's things we need to do from the policy perspective, as we understand it, we can do that. So that's my motion.
Okay, so it's to,
Yeah. I'll give you the, I can give you the bullet
No, I wrote this down, so let me, okay. So.
I can email you too afterwards.
No, sir, no.
Yeah.
So the results of the survey from Convocation, you want a review of discipline for the last 5 years
Yeah, it's
by elementary, middle, and high,
You
like
already-
we've done before.
Exactly,
Yep.
same, but
Nope.
including this current year.
Sure.
Please.
No problem. And then every discipline policy.
The board-related policies that we have, that we need to look at are applicable. Because there's some that are obviously, including the student code of conduct.
Sure.
They reference off of that. Do we need every single one? I don't know. I'm not
Okay.
sure, because I can't tell you that I know every single one there is. But we need to look at everything that's tied to it
Okay.
and figure that out. And I don't know if some of the comments in the teacher comments from that survey might have said this policy is bad, this policy. I don't know.
Okay.
Or if it's admin regs, which is obviously underneath you, but obviously we need to know how the pieces play together so we give the right policy guidance from the board level. If there's changes to be made, there may not.
Right, that's the only item. I'm not sure how I would identify all. Maybe what we can do is kind of put a list together for you of some policies.
At least the key ones that are tied
Okay.
to the student code of conduct. I don't know that has to be every single one. Because
Okay.
if there's a natural concern, it'll pop up, I think. It'll
Sure.
show up saying, hey, this is a problem or not, I think, if there is.
so should we have the presentation of the survey results and the discipline first, and then determine if we need to make changes to policy, and have it be, like, have one month and then bring back the next?
Yeah, my concern is if we were going to do any policy changes, it'd be ideal to be done in December, so we would start off the spring semester with the new stuff in place and have time to communicate it. If we wait till the December meeting, then we're into January, and then it just change in midstream without that clean that. I mean, unless we do the presentation on the 28th, 27th of November, and then possible action on the 10th. But I don't know how much time, because we have Thanksgiving coming up, so I
Right.
realize it may take a little bit
Okay,
of time.
I didn't know, I mean,
I would like to do it, have the option to do it. We may not, and we may just say we need to look at it more and push it to another meeting. We don't have to be like having the option. If we need to make a policy change or something obvious pops up, I think it's important, in my opinion, to have the discussion and possible action based on the presentation.
Well, I think policy changes too can be very time-consuming because they have to go through the legal process and all of those approvals too. So I don't, December seems to me that that's not doable.
It's not, but we
For
can
a
start the
policy
process at least.
change.
So at least if we do want to make changes.
But if we're making the presentation in December, that's the next regular meeting.
Right, then
Yeah.
also have the discussion if we were going to make policy changes to at least start the process. It may not go until January for the reviews, but have the option to at least say we want to change these policies if it makes sense, or start the discussion about it.
so are
Discussion.
you aware of some changes that need to be made to policies?
No, I'm
Based-
not. No, I'm not. I
Okay.
just know that it was the email that 1,000 teachers said their number one concern was classroom management in regards to discipline policies and procedures. So it's time for us to, if we can address it, at
Okay.
least have awareness of what they are, and then see what's already going on, but that was in August, so let's just see where we're trending this year compared to the last several years since we have all that data already.
And I think having the, at least, whatever, is a couple few policies or the, whatever, the student's code of conduct, I mean, speculation here is that I think we may further that discussion, but if we have some of those right off the bat, it probably doesn't hurt. Or at least have a list of where to go find those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that we can,
Yeah,
that we can go
exactly. I
look
think it'd be
at
very
it.
helpful, because I mean, the student code conduct has a couple listed in there as well, but I just couldn't
I
pretend to
mean,
know all
I
of
agree
them.
with you that that's, I mean, it could be a long process, depending on what we find or get
well-
into, or it may be a 5-minute conversation, but,
Yeah.
I think.
So, but I
having
would,
that-
I think probably December, just because we've got the week of Thanksgiving off.
And I'm okay with the December meeting for the presentation. I'm not, because I realize we have Thanksgiving in to try and make sure that we're not just overloading, so I'm good with that one.
Okay, so a motion for that. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Great. The next one, Madam President, I move to have a presentation, and we may need discussion and possible action on the 3-year mental health grant we got from the city of San Antonio. And we talked about it last May, but the specifics of the grant, kind of the 3-year project plan for the different programs and funding, what money's been spent on what items, how we're going to track the effectiveness, or if we're required to by the grant. And then the last piece is the timeline when the staff's going to provide the curriculum portion to the SHAC Safe and Healthy Committees to review, as we discussed back in May, as required by law, so we can get that process moving along on those mental health pieces.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second. Can I get a little, I'm sorry, so is this, it's a motion for a presentation or a report?
A presentation, and I say discussion and possible action in case there's something we need to do. I don't think there's going to be, but we at least need the presentation.
Okay, that's what I was,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second.
Okay, is this something that, Dr. Micah, is this something that you can provide? Is this a timeframe?
Yeah, I'm just reading it. I mean, it's, so you want to know how much money we've spent, how are we tracking its effectiveness?
Are we even required to with the grant?
Correct. So you just want an update. I mean,
But I do, but also, yeah, what are we doing and what are we going to do for the next 3
Sure.
years? And then the curriculum piece, because we talked
Yeah.
about it in May, but it still hasn't
That's
gone to
fine.
the SHAC
Yep.
yet. So we can get that
Yep,
process.
we can get that done.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
The last one hopefully should be the simplest one that I have here. I move to have basically a high-level presentation from the 4 SHAC standing committees on their current activities, kind of a mid-year review so we know what they're focusing on, in conjunction with the SHAC presentation I believe is going to happen on the middle school sex ed curriculum in December, if they have that, to have the 4 SHAC committees just give a quick update so we as a board know what our committee is doing and have clarity on what they're doing or not doing for their kind of big project this year.
Well, I think that's the purpose of their annual report.
It is, but I think doing a mid-year review would be helpful. I've heard some different things and getting different feedback so that we can provide clarity if there's some disparity in that it's a board decision, it's not an individual thing, but I think it would be worthwhile so we know what each of the 4 committees are or not working on, because I know, for example, Safe and Healthy Schools, I believe, has kind of been waiting on the mental health grant piece, which is kind of spurred so we can have that, but I think it'd be good for us to get a snapshot so that we know in case they need any guidance from us. We've had new turnover, new members. We can just say yay or nay, discuss it as a board, and have clarity on what they're working on.
So,
Is this something that could possibly wait till maybe after the first of the year, the January meeting? It seems like we're putting a lot of stuff in the December meeting, but I'm also concerned about our committee people coming up with, in the midst of holidays and family time.
Coming on they're going to be here on the 10th of December. They're already coming, I believe, assuming what happens this Wednesday at the meeting, they're going to bring us the middle school sex ed curriculum, 7th and 8th grades is on the upcoming, so I'm assuming, I don't know that it'll pass, maybe it won't, but they're already going to be here, and so just have the 4 other individuals, other standing chairs come and talk to us. The longer we wait, the more we're possibly slowing things down.
I was just trying to be considerate of their time because with
I agree,
Thanksgiving and
why
everything
I asked
else.
after the last meeting that they be put
Yeah.
as early as possible, so they don't have to sit through 3 hours of us. But that's what we tried to do last time. But I think it's important, and I think it would be helpful for them because of some of the stuff that I'm hearing. And so, as a liaison, I think it would be value added for the board to just get a quick snapshot. I'm talking like a 2 to 3 minute update on each of the 4 committees, not a long presentation from them. This is what our focus of this year is. Here's where we stand in any of the challenges they may or may not be having. I think it's very important that we do this.
so that's, I think they're coming December 10th, right?
Correct, it'd be that meeting.
So we'll just add the other, so Chase will be coming with their presentation, so it's just adding the other 3 committees.
In high level, I'm talking for the other ones, just a quick, couple minute, this is what we're working on exactly. Since they're already coming in, it's going to be an agenda item, I assume, in December.
We can ask them, right? They're volunteers.
Yeah, certainly.
They may not come.
Agreed.
But,
And I'll see them on Wednesday and see if they're willing, but I think that
I was going to say, do you want Miss Aguilar to do that, or do you want to ask for it?
I will gladly speak at Wednesday. I'll talk to Mr. Kamen and ask them if they're willing to do so, and then I
Okay.
will provide the feedback to you and Mrs. Grona.
Perfect.
Okay, so did I have a motion on that one?
I
Yeah.
made a motion, kind
Okay.
of long motion, but yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Anything else?
Not for me, Madam President.
Okay. Item 15, adjournment, and the time is 8:55. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Happy Thanksgiving.